I don't know.
What do you say?
Here's the thing. I was at that same rally with all these students, and what she said, what that grieving mother said, is the most powerful message that everyone needs to hear. And it's the message,
everyone.
It's the message that I've heard from PTA moms and school board members. It's the message that I heard at that rally from two girls who came up to me and said that they were in the school. One of them said, we need action, we have to do something. One of them said, I sat there as my friends and watched my friend's face get blown off. Her friend said that she was underneath someone else who bled out, who died on top of her. How much more of this?
But you're on Capitol Hill.
Right.
You're on Capitol Hill.
Right.
I mean, let me just speak for so many people who have been yelling at the televisions,
right.
yelling at members of Congress, how nothing has been done.
Right, right. And you know what? They're right. They're right. And I join them in their frustration and their anger. They're absolutely right to be angry. Here's some things that we probably ought to start talking about. Right?
Let's go.
I can tell you all of the things, that's basic steps that we can take to make sure that everyone gets a background check and to make sure that if you're too dangerous to fly, you shouldn't get a gun. That's all true.
Which he did and passes background check.
But you know what else?
Next.
You know what else? You know what kind of gun this gunman used?
An AR-15 style weapon.
You know what kind of gun is always used in these? An AR-15 assault rifle.
What are you going to do about it?
It's a weapon that's made to kill the maximum number of people.
What are you going to do about it?
Well, until 2004, it was illegal to manufacture or to own them. Illegal. And that didn't come from crazy left-wing liberals. President Reagan thought that might help dry up the scourge of these guns that wreak so much havoc. I don't understand why in this discussion that we're having, why we advocate for the simple things without any response from my colleague. The speaker will not bring up a single bill for debate. We have to focus on the big things, like making sure that guns that are made to kill the maximum number of people cannot be used that way.
The speaker today really honed in on mental illness, which is absolutely germane to the conversation. And I'm not dismissing that, but I just in reading everything that I have from Republicans, mental health, mental illness, reading it in a Trump tweet today. I mean, you have this mother screaming at the president, who did take time today to try to be the consoler-in-chief and spoke directly to the camera to try to talk to kids that he wants to make them safe. But I heard no how. I heard no specifics. I heard no mention of gun laws.
Right.
Which makes this mother angry. And
she is right, and everyone is right to be angry. The fact is, we have to deal with the mental health crisis in our country. We must. I don't want to demonize people with mental illness and make this all about them. We have to provide access to treatment and care for people with mental illness. That's true. But the fact is...
How many more shootings is it going to take for your colleagues to
Brooke,
get it together and fix
Brooke,
this?
Before I left D.C. yesterday, I had so many of my colleagues come up and grab my shoulder and grab my arm and express their heartfelt condolences. Which is lovely. It's lovely, and I believe them. And today they were going to have a moment of silence on the House floor. But you shouldn't have to have something like this happen in your own district to people that you know and care about and represent for it to matter to them. It's not political. It is not politicizing this issue to talk about ending gun violence. The only people who are politicizing this issue are the people who are looking for reasons not to have the conversation. And there is simply no excuse. Next week, from all of the people I've been talking to, they want to come together. We're going to try to bring together the entire community in a way that will at least focus the nation's attention on this issue past the first couple of days. We can't afford to let this just become another statistic. This is one of the worst mass shootings in our country's history, and it happened in one of the most wonderful communities. Everyone needs to care about this.
When are you going to get the president to talk about it? Because we talked about Las Vegas. Forgive me, Congressman, I'm just really fired up. We talked about Las Vegas. 58 people, I believe, is the number. 58 people were killed. You watch that White House press briefing, which I do each and every day, and they kept asking these reporters, when are you going to talk about it? We had a whole conversation about bump stocks. When are you going to talk about it? Now's not the time. Now's not the time. When is the time, Congressman?
Right? The time is today, the time was yesterday, the time was years ago after Sandy Hook, the time was years before that after Columbine. It's always the time. It is always the time to talk about preventing casualties, to keep people safe, to prevent shootings. And one last thing.
Yeah.
Some of my colleagues, some of our friends in the Senate went to the floor. They spoke passionately about how much they expressed their grief, their condolences. And I, again, but to have that conversation and to work as hard as so many of them did to tie themselves into knots to avoid even using the word gun, that's shameful. It's not just a person who walked in off the street and murdered all of these kids. It's a person who walked in off the street with an AR-15 and shot all these kids to death. That's what we have to come to terms with. It's vital that the conversation, that the debate, and that the pressure, the maximum pressure from everyone who cares starts right now.
Congressman Deutch, I appreciate all that. I've got one more question for you because I want to play some sound. This is from a public defender defending this shooter just fed into us. So let's listen to this together.
This is a loss for this community, a tragic loss of 17 children.
Let's just say that.
Thank you.
I'll come back.
I'll come back.
WEKES?
Week ES.
So, I mean, listen, these public defenders they live in the community. You know, it is their job to defend individuals such as this man facing 17 counts of premeditated murder. But it's not often you see someone get emotional like that.
Brooke,
I take that back. Where were we 5 minutes ago?
Yeah, you and I both. And it's okay. It's okay to be emotional. That mom, I can't imagine her grief. The couple that I talked to a little while ago who lost a daughter, they were speechless. The kids who were impacted they feel so deeply that something has to get done.
Yep.
It's okay for us to be emotional. It's the only way that something will happen. It's emotion that shouldn't just come from those of us who are standing in the shadow of the school where this happened. It's the emotion that we should all feel for all of the people who take their kids to school every day and after events like this wonder if their kids are going to come home. That emotion is what's going to drive this process forward.
Yes, and I think about that mom. I think about that mom who has to go back into her daughter's bedroom and pick out clothes to put on her daughter for her funeral. You know, these are the things we don't talk about, but it's all those little details. It's everything, just walking through what these parents are going through in a time like this that is just so unnecessary. Congressman Ted Deutch, I appreciate you and your candor.